So even in our rotational manner, where we lose the swing often is that we lose the pulling rotational power of the body as we move into the turn of the swing, and our body stops here, maybe with our chest going out in this direction, and now the arm is starting to have to power through to contact and become disconnected from the body and create all these other issues. So I want to talk now about how this non-hitting arm, just like we talked about the non-hitting arm and the coiling and loading, how on the unloading it plays a much more pivotal role than you think maybe, or you've ever tried. But we're going to try that. So that when we're loading, and we've extended our arms way back here now and stretched the muscles in our back, and we can feel that stretch. Now we've loaded our body properly so that we have that whole stretch to pull the body in this swinging circle, in this tilted axis that we have going up through contact. And the non-hitting arm is pulling, pulling, pulling. And as opposed to most people who sort of let it drop or just let it stop, or they lose the dynamic tension of this pull, you know, I want you to be able to really focus how this is pulled back much more sharply. It's not pulled around on this wide arc, that's too wide. We have much more of a tucking motion of this left side in. And as opposed to what these other instructors have said about, well, the position we want to end up is with the hand, you know, waving at the opponent, the palm sort of facing the opponent over here. And in doing so, I've executed an external rotation of my non-hitting shoulder. See, this is external, this is internal. And what happens instead for most players, especially the new generation, and even I'll show you the old goats that I have, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, more typically, that's not how they execute this move. More typically, in the hand is palm down, up, it can be various things, but instead of a external rotation of the non-hitting shoulder, there's a internal tucking of the shoulder, internal rotation, and the hand moves down more like this, and there's sort of a bracing arm action, hand action, as if, you know, we're really freezing the left side like this. And it can look like this, it can look like this, and various things. But the more important thing is the internal arm rotation and tucking. So why is this better? Why is this the preferred method? Because we're basically turning, rotating, right? And now we're getting to the point where we want to stop that rotation. If I externally rotate this shoulder, there's going to be a tendency for those shoulders to swing in rotation even further. So it's just not as effective a way of bracing and freezing the rotation as the internal tucking. And so what we'll see is this internal tuck, maybe the hand out like this, the non-hitting side now, since the left side is frozen or coming to a halt, the right side can come shooting through with an anchor point, a pivot point, if you will. This is the anchor or pivot point for this rotation. And it makes a tremendous amount of difference if that rotation is anchored and this left side is stopped, in increasing our swing speed and free release of the racket at contact. So we'll look in more detail of this as we go into the deliberate practice section of the video. For one further confirmation of what I was saying about this internal rotation and the tucking of the hand and the shoulder here, is if you watch any professional pitcher for the last 100 years maybe, and I'll show you a couple of pictures here in the background or in the next video segment, is that almost all pitchers, as they complete their rotational throwing action and they start to come through in the release phase, very similar to what we have. The left side now has to be stopped so that the right side can accelerate through. They almost always tuck their glove in this internal rotation down here. Down, not up here, but down here, because this is where the major part of the rotation of the body is going up and over, just like we do in tennis. And so this is the universal action of professional pitchers, and they've studied this umpteen million ways, and you can look at any video yourself. But it's just further confirmation that if we understand the technique principles and not get focused on a particular position of the hand, we can both improve our technique and, eliminate a lot of problem areas. And so once again, understanding that the principle of the non-hitting arm stoppage is to stop the rotation of the body so that the hitting side and hitting arm can rotate through faster and more efficiently. So now I'll show you a close-up of Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal all executing this pulling motion all the way through contact, all executing an internal elbow tuck, internal rotation of this non-hitting side, and this sort of arresting with their hand motion of some kind, and then the being able to press and release into contact. So the next lesson after this, we'll be talking more about the right side's role in this rotating action. And there is a definite role for the right throwing side. Yes, the swing should be led by a pulling action, but as we turn into the last acceleration, there's a more definite role for a more active action on the hitting side that we'll get into. But for this lesson, we're focusing on the complete pulling action, the stopping of the rotation, and the acceleration of the hitting arm and shoulder, and we'll be checking to see that this hitting side is advanced enough for you to further develop this technique. We're now in the deliberate practice section of this lesson.